It's one of Britain's most hidden crimes, and according to experts, about 4 million parents have experienced violence from their children. Many of the people in this film wanted to remain anonymous, so we've had to change their names.
Easy way to hit her, then I just punch her in the arm. I won't do it too powerful, because if I hurt them and I can say if she has to go to the doctor's or hospital, she'll have to tell them what's happened.
But the vast majority of those suffering at the hands of their teenagers goes unreported, and rarely do we hear from survivors.
He first started off initially just kicking. That was in the first year, and he would push, and the first real violent episode came when he got a cricket bat and he took it and hit my legs. I didn't think he was actually going to do it, and I just stood there and I let him, because I thought, no, he's going to come to his senses. My son is not going to do this to me.
For Sarah, life became not just difficult, but almost unbearable after her 13-year-old son started attacking her 2 years ago.
So here he is playing basketball. He's just like any other teenager, and people look and think, well, they'd never think that he's a violent child or can be violent at times. You'd never think it to look at him.
It's lone parents like Sarah who, according to the University of Oxford, are most at risk of being abused by their children. Her son was given a 12-month youth referral order earlier this month after injuring her with a bread knife. Under the order, he will be required to write a letter explaining to her why he did what he did.
We had a disagreement. He was raged and there was a bread knife in the kitchen. I was working in my home office and he just came in with the bread knife, and I was completely shocked. I tried to get him to put it down. We had a struggle. He had no intention of putting it down, and in that struggle I got cut really badly. So much so that I had to call the paramedics.
I mean, just describe that moment to me. Just tell me what it's like, your son threatening you with a bread knife.
There was just an almighty, I don't know, fear. Like I probably never, like almost like you're faced with a criminal in your home. And then my hand was cut. I don't know. That was the point which I had to admit that I had this violent child.
Now, in some cases, it can be really difficult for moms like Sarah to actually report their children to the authorities. But for those who aren't able to do so, it's not getting any easier. We've heard of some really shocking stories of parents being attacked, including one child being accused of murder. So what causes some children to threaten, bully, and even attack their own moms and dads?
There can be various motives that feed into that wish to control. But controlling the others is inevitably the outcome of that pattern of behavior.
So why is it happening?
Okay, well, there's a belief that it's happening on a wider scale than it used to. We can't actually find evidence for that because there hasn't been research that's been carried out into the prevalence of child-to-parent violence over the years. One view is that it is happening increasingly more often than in the past. Another view is that it has been a hidden form of domestic violence because until very recently we haven't spoken about child-to-parent violence as such.
But whilst the problem remains largely hidden, some are trying to address it. I went to Doncaster to find out how this teen-to-parent abuse program, the first of its kind in the country, is helping to rehabilitate teenagers who've been abusing their parents. It's their 5th week on the program, and both 13-year-old Luke and 12-year-old Kyle are now starting to admit their anger problem. So you've both hit your parents?
Yeah.
Why?
In anger, or if I don't get something what I want, or if I'm grounded and I want to go out.
How many times do you think you've hit your mom?
Less than hundreds, in the 60s.
So you've hit your mom at least 60 times?
Mm.
What would you use to hit her?
I won't do it too powerful because if I hurt them and I can say if she has to go to the doctor's or hospital, she'll have to tell them what's happened. so I don't do it exactly light as a feather, but I do it hard enough to scare her.
At what age did you start hitting your mum, do you think?
My mum says that I started when I was about 2 years old. The last time was about 3-4 weeks ago.
What did you do?
I hit her on the face.
Cheryl, who runs the intervention program helping moms and their abusive sons, say the signs aren't always clear and parents should speak up in the face of abuse.
I think each case in its own right is quite heartbreaking in that, for me, these families are fractured and they need support to kind of get back on track and move forward together in a very healthier manner, and the impact that that's having on the rest of the family. So what we're doing, which is quite unique with this type of programme, is ensuring that whilst mum and the child that's abusing them are worked with, siblings also have the opportunity to have direct work as well. So we're taking very much a whole family approach to the violence.
You know, like the fact that he's thought about you and gone, oh, I know that's going to be tricky for my mum to do.
For Debbie, who has been kicked, punched and even strangled by her son, it's here in these meetings where she's able to share her fears.
I mean, how many times do you think you've been attacked?
Honestly, I'd say over 1,000. It's been going on since they were 2 or 3 years old, more or less on a daily basis.
Many people would struggle to believe that your own son has attacked you nearly 1,000 times.
I know that. It's something where you don't tell people, something you're ashamed of. I mean, how many people do you know goes round to saying, my 12-year-old son beats me up? Goes with me black and blue on a daily basis.
What's the worst thing he's ever done to you?
I'd have to say, cut my stomach open.
Those like Debbie who are unable to cope often feel too ashamed and will cover up their abuse. No wonder Liz, a mom of 2, has lost count the amount of times that she has been beaten by her son.
How do you actually cope with your child hitting you? How does that feel? Can you describe it?
It's degrading, it's frustrating, it's annoying, it's upsetting. You can't 100% blame, I can't 100% blame the son for the way that he is, but I can't 100% not blame him, if you understand what I mean.
Now, latest figures from the Crown Prosecution Service show that in the last year, more than 2,500 14 to 17-year-olds have been prosecuted for a range of domestic abuse offences. That's compared to just over 2,000 in 2013 to 2014.
We know it's a hidden crime. If it wasn't a priority for us, we wouldn't be raising awareness in such a way.
In the last 12 months, West Midlands Police say they have dealt with almost 200 cases of under 18s abusing their parents, but only 13 were charged and prosecuted.
Criminal justice outcomes are not the only solution, and the majority of times they're not the best solution. We have to consider the welfare of the child, even though it's the child that's causing the problem in the family. We have to look to their welfare as well. I think the worst case is probably slightly dramatic, but we have had cases of a 12-year-old or 13-year-old where they've been assaulting their parents' mother in this particular case, the 12-year-old, and the family is in such crisis that they've got to a point where they feel they have no other option but to call the police, and that's where we've come in and intervened.
Just punch it there.
Back in Doncaster, Natalie knows all too well the pain many moms endure when abuse lives and breathes within the home.
And what about me and you? Do you think we are back to where we used to be?
We're getting a lot better now and we don't argue as much.
She and her son Ben spent 9 weeks on the Teen to Parent abuse programme. He never physically attacked her, but used to bully and threaten her.
I love you.
I went to find out how they're now rebuilding their relationship.
Just because it's not physical, it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. Mentally, I probably got to a point where I felt like it ruined me. You accept it, and that's how it become the norm, I suppose, the behaviour. It just become a cycle of patterns. I accepted it because of the guilt, and it was just a vicious circle like that. I love my son, beyond my life itself, and I could never give up on him. And when I looked at him when he was asleep over night time, I cried so many nights just thinking, I just wish you'd just behave. I just wish, you know, that, what am I doing? And I felt really got it that after all these years, suddenly my parenting were a problem.
It's clear more needs to be done to spot the signs of abuse that speaks loud even when a victim won't. Most of the moms who I've met spoke out because they no longer wanted to suffer in silence. But despite their ordeals at the hands of their teenagers, they all share one thing in common: unconditional love for their children. For Luke though, who we met earlier, he's now a lot calmer and is hoping to regain the trust of his mom.
I used to hit my mum at least twice a week, and I hadn't hit her for 4 weeks, and that's an improvement.